Hello everyone, so the first recipe from Once Upon a Table will be rice cake soup with dumplings. Rice cake soup is Korean's New Year's staple, and it is said, if you eat one bowl of rice cake soup, you get a year older. I know it doesn't sound very nice, but I'm pretty sure in the old days, it meant to be a good thing. Okay, so click the timestamp if you want to skip. I'll also put the timestamp in the description box. Otherwise, let's start from the most time-consuming part, the bone broth. You'll need 1 packet of beef bone and transfer into a large stock pot. You'll also like to add any kind of lean beef. Here I'm using round top. Trim the fat and cut it in large chunks. Completely cover it with cold water and soak it for 3 to 4 hours. Drain it, cover it with cold water, and boil it for 10 minutes. Drain it once more, and clean out all the nooks and crannies with a brush under cold running water. Don't worry, this brush is only for food. Don't forget to clean out the pot to remove any gunk and debris. Put the bones and meat back into the pot, cover it with cold water, and simmer overnight. The next morning, pull out the meat. They'll be very tender and will fall apart easily. Shred them in bite-sized chunks. Next, let's make dumplings. I'm making from scratch, starting with the dumpling wrappers, but you can buy dumpling wrappers at pretty much any Asian grocery store. Though I do recommend making homemade dumpling wrappers because they are so chewy, and unlike store-bought wrappers, it won't crack while cooking after freezing your dumplings. I recommend using bread flour instead of regular all-purpose flour because it's much more chewy and tastes much better. The ratio for the dumpling wrappers is 3 parts flour and 1 part water. But if you're going to need using your hands, you'll need a little bit more water because your hands will absorb water. Add salt and knead until it gets flaky. If your dough never comes together, you can add a tablespoon or 2, but you need to be careful. This is how it looks like right before adding a tablespoon of water. Right after adding a tablespoon of water, it came together like this, but it was still too hard for the touch, so I added another tablespoon of water. To figure out if the dough is ready or not, touch it and pinch it, and if it feels like your earlobes, it's ready. I know it sounds weird, but that's how you're taught to figure out if the dough is ready. Wrap it in a plastic wrap and rest it in the refrigerator for at least 1 hour. Next, let's prepare the pork. You can buy minced pork, but this time I wanted my dumplings to be extra lean, so I minced it at home. The minced pork is about 500 grams. Then chop half a cabbage. Sprinkle a tablespoon of salt and mix well. Now here we have some scallions and Korean garlic chives. Korean garlic chives are smaller and tender than Chinese garlic chives, but it's okay to use Chinese garlic chives. Just be sure to chop as fine as possible because Chinese garlic chives are relatively large and stiff and might poke out from the dumpling wrappers. Finely chop 1 scallion. The cabbage is now all watery from the salt, so tightly squeeze out the water and mix all the cabbage, pork, garlic chives, scallion, minced garlic, and add a tablespoon of soy sauce, pepper, and sesame oil, and mix well. Add 1 egg and a tablespoon of potato starch or cornstarch. The starch is to grab any excess water from the cabbage. This will prevent the dumpling wrapper from getting soggy. Now everything is ready, let's make the dumplings. Use half of the dough and leave the other half in plastic wrap to prevent it from drying out. From this recipe, you can get about 70 small dumplings, or less if you make it bigger. Try to make the dumpling wrapper as round as possible. Well, my first one was not very nice, but still you can make a cute little dumpling with this. Put the filling in it, fold it in half, and pinch the edges to seal. If you're using store-bought dumpling wrappers, it won't seal by just pinching it, so you'll need to use water to glue the edges together. This is the shape of the dumpling you use in Korean rice cake soup. Speaking about the shape of your dumpling, this one looks a bit sad compared to this one. Rather than just pulling the wings to the front, pull them downways and the shape of your dumpling will be plump and look more delicious. It's very time-consuming to make all the holiday meals at once, so I made these ahead and going to freeze them for later. Stamp each dumplings on flour to prevent any sogginess and place them in a container. Don't cram them too tight or else they will stick all together. Finally, and optional, let's make white and yellow egg garnish. Egg garnish is a traditional way to garnish Korean food. Not the easiest thing to make, but I will show you my tip to make it easy. Separate the eggs in whites and yolks. In a ramekin, add 1 teaspoon of potato starch or cornstarch and a tablespoon of water. Mix well, then add it into your eggs. And that's it. It's so much easier making egg garnish by simply adding some starch in it. It's hard to handle pure egg, but this way it holds its shape. Actually, adding starch is not a traditional way to make this garnish. I know I'm cheating a bit here, but you have less chance failing. Finally, slice the egg sheets and store it in the refrigerator until you need it. Now everything is ready. Let's prepare the soup. When you get rice cakes from the store, they're a bit dry and hard for shelf life. So soak them in cold water for about 15 minutes to soften them. Then steam the dumplings. If you want to cut back a step, you can just throw them in the soup and boil them with rice cakes. I usually do that, but today I'm steaming them to make it look nice. Transfer the bone soup to a smaller pot. Then drain the rice cakes and boil for 10 to 15 minutes. Usually, you don't season this soup. Serve it with salt and pepper so people can adjust the taste by themselves. the steamed dumplings, meat, egg garnish. You can add shredded seaweed cheese or scallions as well. At last, your Korean New Year's rice cake soup with dumplings are ready. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed this recipe. Let me know if you have any questions, and thank you for watching. Bye!